I think right now you really need to be open, accepting that things might change. There will be adjustment in your way of doing things, anything. Again, if you don't want to be relevant, it's up to you. But to be relevant, it costs money. The room for error is very, very minimal at the moment. So it's gonna be very tough. Listen to the customer, look at your operation, um, and then try to find strategy first before you start actioning. So make sure you have something that you're working on.
Hey friends, it's Lee Safar here with some exciting news. The introduction to regenerative coffee farming workshops are now available on demand in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. These workshops are designed to give you actionable insights into the future of coffee farming through regenerative agriculture. Whether you're a coffee producer, roaster, cafe owner, or just passionate about coffee sustainability. For coffee producers, the workshop is available for just $10, and for everyone else, it's $20. A small price to pay for knowledge that could transform your understanding of what it's going to take to grow coffee from now on. Led by our incredible professors Angela Barrero, Murilo Bettarello, Felipe Croce, Carlos Ordóñez, and João Araújo, the workshop is packed with practical knowledge and strategies to help coffee farmers and the entire coffee industry adapt to the challenges of climate change, rising costs, and market demands. If you're a business owner, this workshop is a great and affordable way to inform your employees about the challenges ahead while also supporting Mapper Forward. This is also a great workshop to share with or gift to your coffee producers. Head to mapperforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the description to purchase the on-demand version and start your journey towards a more sustainable coffee future today. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of a fantastic 5-part series with Nawar Adra from Stitch Coffee in Sydney, Australia, as well as China and as well as Japan. We are talking in this series about the reality of this market volatility for coffee businesses. And people who've listened to this podcast for a long time know that Nawar and I have traversed a decade and more of this industry together, building businesses, inspiring each other, making decisions and bouncing things off each other. And those moments come from identifying issues. And it's oftentimes where you can't identify issues for yourself. You need somebody else, whether it's people in your team, whether it's trusted advisors, whether it's your customers, that help you identify the issues so that you can make decisions. Nawar, I have seen you make decisions that I would normally not have even identified that there are issues there. You saw the drip bag thing was going to be a thing before pretty much anybody else. But there's another one that we haven't talked about. I don't think we've ever talked about it on the podcast. Excuse me. And that is the coffee concentrate issue, right? Guys, years ago, Nawar was saying to me, hey sis, take a sip of this. I'm like, well, what is it? Thinking this is another one of the things that Nawar's going to try. And he said, it's concentrate. I'm like, nobody's going to drink concentrate, bro. He said, everybody's going to drink concentrate. And I tasted it. And of course, it was fucking amazing. How do you identify the issues? Well, first of all, tell us about the concentrate. And then, and let's talk about the process of how you identify that.
The more I dig into the commercial of the coffee, the commercial part of the coffee industry, the more I realize they are way ahead of specialty. They just never use the right beans.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they were purely utilizing this technology and innovation into just how much money I can squeeze out of what I'm doing and how much money I can squeeze out of the supply chain, how much money I can make, right? They were very, very,
They're profit
very
focused.
Profit focused, but not quality focused, right? However, now it's very interesting because we are quality focused, but we do want to reduce some cost. We do want to start making money off the quality, but we don't want to lose the quality that we actually wanted.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, we started to look as like, maybe let's go back to these commercial companies, see what they've done in the past. And maybe we should look into, okay, let me put a better Brazil and see what happens. Let me put an Ethiopian, I've never had an Ethiopian natural in a pod until I made mine. I'm like, shit, this is actually really good. you know? Uh,
What's
and
usually in
that was,
pods? Brazils?
I don't know, I mean, Ethiopian, but dark roast is like, grade
Right.
65, who knows?
Right.
What grades is in, but what I'm, and then it was very fascinating because I wanted to try instant coffee. And I'm like, let me try instant coffee, see what is it about. The guy was, hey, I can just send it to you as liquid format. I'm like, what is liquid format? I was like, just instead of making it freeze dry, I can just send you a liquid
For
format
real?
so you can try it. Yeah, for real. And they send me the concentrated coffee as a liquid. And I've tasted it. I'm like, why do we need to make it powder? Doesn't make sense. You know, why do we need to add another step to the process to make it a coffee? And I tested it in the cafe. After that, I'm like, yep, we're gonna run it, see what is it like. So we tried it. It's a little bit different. It's not gonna be an espresso shot fresh out of a coffee machine.
Hmm.
It's not going to be, but also the pods from Nestle at a very, very low, it's 5.3 gram. We
Hmm.
all know the secret of pods is 10 or 12 gram in. If
Yep.
you do a pod for 12 gram in, forget about a barista. You don't need it. Okay,
Right.
12 in, 16 out. I can guarantee you it's gonna taste pretty damn good. And you're gonna have a very decent cup of coffee at home. Okay, but again, this technology was never meant to be quality. It's meant to be driven by
Convenience.
profitability, convenient. It was never. But a lot of people think convenience is not quality. In fact, convenience is a attribute of quality. It depends of how you look at it, because customers will identify those trends, and they
This
will
is
tell you,
why
you know what?
Stitch has done so well, though, Nawar. Like, you have taken convenience and quality, married them together, so that when I give somebody a gift that is Stitch, they then become a new customer of yours
Yeah.
because they've previously believed that the convenience equaled a lack of quality.
Yep. But actually, in fact, it is so if you can merge them really well together,
It's a
then you
easy sell.
become, the thought process, like, how do I be a, what was the right word I use for myself? How can I be a household product, but with a quality driven household product
Yeah.
where if you open your cabinet, you really want to showcase you have a Stitch coffee product in it, you know what I mean? Or you want to put it on the table.
Yeah.
And the way to do it was to really look into all these existing technology, anything new. The thing is, you're just taking something that already existed and just making it better. I mean, that
Mm.
Richard Branson probably a very good example
Yeah.
of that. He didn't reinvent any wheel. He was really good at branding and making it a better experience for the customer. So when I had this, when I looked at the liquid, I'm like, this is actually, in reality, no joke, that would be the most environmental friendly product ever existed.
Hands down.
You know,
It's the most
it,
sustainable way to drink coffee.
it's just, you don't need anything. You don't need an espresso machine. You don't need plastic. You don't need anything that sits on your bench that you're gonna chuck every 2 years. You don't need people to go and R&Ding stuff and spend billions of dollars of nothingness. I might sound very bad on the podcast, but anyway, you don't need all this because But is it perfected yet for specialty coffee audience? No,
No.
and the big reason for it is because the MOQ, the investment in the technology, all that is super, super, super high.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why it's very tricky to push the boundaries yet, is because the technology is not there. The smaller size technology is not there to help specialty to go and buy the small machine to get you where you want to be, right? Because it's a bit tricky. Once it become liquid format, it does have a bit of a, you need a proper shelf life study. You need a lot of this, a lot of that. So obviously making money out of it is becoming very important, but it will happen. You like it or not. Blue Bottles is already on it because they're part of Nestle. They have a concentrate coffee shop that only serve concentrate coffee in Hong Kong. And already they are already testing it. They are already on it.
Well, and for the reasons that you talked about, I think in the first episode or the second episode of this series, the anxiety and the pressures that are on business owners to keep up with things when there's a lack of accountability from, a lot of the workforce these days. There's a lot of a lack of accountability from, many different parts in the supply chain. We've got to find ways to simplify things. We've got to find ways to make doing business more seamless while the consumer starts demanding sustainability statements. And whether they demand it or not, we've got to figure out how the fuck to stay more sustainable while the cost of living crisis is doing what it's doing. And we've got all of these other pressures coming from all different parts of like just living.
Yeah. And it's very tricky because you want to invest in the right packaging. You want to invest in the, you want to invest in the right social activities. You want to, you want to pay everybody on time. You want to pay your taxes on time and everything. So it becomes very, very challenging. And the thing is, you simply can't take $1 out of your business. Like you really need to have a buffer. You need to have, I call it Great Wall of China, pretty much. You need to have a wall of like enough funding for crisis. Like, you need to look at it from a government perspective, right? They have a crisis account, they have account for this investment. You got, you really need to start stretching your account into saying, I'm going to put this money in case something bad happened and I'm not going to touch it. And it's probably not the best for business because everybody said, money that's in the bank account is not a good idea, right? But the thing is, if you don't have this money in the account and something bad happened, or you want to invest, or you want to be, you have an opportunity in front of you that comes across and all that. So you really need to think, you need to think that you are an employee and it happened to be the general manager or CEO of this company. What would you do?
The alternative to that is we all have to get our own Doge and find our own Elon Musk.
Actually,
it's true.
I think you need to, I mean, maybe a bit differently, but you need that. And you need to be that person who does it, and honestly, the most, again, what are the identifying issue for business management? It's really like learning what it is, really knowing the cause of it, be very, very transparent with the people and communicate with them really, really well. Sometimes they have the answer. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. They can just bounce ideas with each other and they will find their own way of doing it, and really study the competitors really, really well, and identify what the market is looking for. A lot of people, yes, they want to make their full-on espresso at home. They want to make their flour, but also there's time where they don't want to be bothered. Create a brand that people want to gift it to other people. This is how proud they are in taking your product to their friends and say, drink this, is the best thing ever, and they stand by it. And I think that is the way to actually pivot through the crisis that we're going through at the moment, or the hard time.
The thing that I often tell clients, and we mentioned at the end of the last episode that you and I worked together with Pete and Maria Licata on caffeine control coffee. And the thing that I often, and we did this during that consult, is that if you listen when we're talking about like identifying issues and how you make decisions, the secret sauce to that is listening to what people want and figuring out how to solve problems for people. And so when you can ask the right questions and listen, really listen to your team, you can listen to consumers, you can listen to the market, you can listen to suppliers, they're going to tell you what the issues are.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't need to have all the answers. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. You don't know the answers.
Yeah.
It's not like you have it. You're just gonna figure it out as you go, But sometimes it depends. Some personality traits are in different ways. Some people are super
stubborn.
How do you say stubborn, or and to be stubborn right now is probably the worst thing you want to do.
100%.
I think right now you really need to be open, accepting that things might change. There will be adjustment in your way of doing things, anything. Again, if you don't want to be relevant, it's up to you, but to be relevant, it costs money. The room for error is very, very minimal at the moment. So it's going to be very tough. Listen to the customer, look at your operation, and then try to find strategy first before you start actioning. So make sure you have something that you're working on. The goal is always there. You can change a little bit. You can, you can go right. You don't have to go left sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's as long as the goal is there, that's all that matters, and you're working towards it.
Yeah, clarity is a really important part of that. Knowing where you're going and why you're doing something.
100%.
It is so imperatively important to understand how to identify the issues that are in your business and that are out there in the market so that you can continue to solve them. It is a mistake, though, to think that you are the only person who knows what those issues are and that you're the person who can, you're the only person that can see it.
No, you can't. You have to get everyone involved, and you have to be open for feedback. People gonna criticize you. Some people might be a very bad feedback, so it
don't
might
trust
hurt
everyone
you in a personal level. Yeah, so you really need to be careful as well, because some people might just do it because they want to cause you harm, So it's a fine line. You just have to also trust your guts,
100%.
and don't deviate too much.
Yeah. Okay. We have one episode of this series left. And in that, we're going to talk about, we're going to get Nawar's thoughts on how 2025 is going to reshape the entire coffee industry, which is, I'm actually really interested to hear this because Nawar's always usually about 5 steps ahead of the industry. And I'm interested to see how you are. So join us for the next episode, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon, and stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.